Hello and welcome back. Today, if this is your first time, I hope you will come along for the ride. We seek to worship the Father in spirit and truth on this channel, and we do crave your support. I do welcome comments and requests for prayer. Now, in my quiet time today, I came across an 18-year-old discussion board containing a reply concerning preterism from someone named Dave. It was entitled Common Objections to Full Preterism Under the Surface. Now, I paraphrase below, but captured all his points with some additional commentary of my own. Dave's insights are, in my humble opinion, quite profound. Preterism asserts that Scripture contains no prophecy still awaiting future fulfillment. For clarity, I'll use futurist for anyone who expects prophecy to be fulfilled in the future, and this will include partial preterists, and I'll use preterism to mean full preterist or full preterism. Now, I recognize that some people haven't accepted partial preterism yet. Still, when the preterist framework is presented honestly and carefully, many futurists eventually concede that at least some passages were fulfilled in AD 70. Others, however, want to split the difference. They accept a few fulfillments, but balk at the idea that all relevant passages point to that date. They want to keep the parts that feel familiar. Now, after a clear defense of preterism, objections arise. Broadly, they fall into two categories, rational and sub-rational. In the message today, I want to focus on the sub-rational. Sub-rational objections are often unspoken. They show up as discomfort rather than arguments. I believe these hidden responses are the single biggest reason many reject full preterism. To be fair, I don't mean to imply that everyone who resists full preterism is motivated only by these factors. Many do have genuine reasoned concerns. Still, I implore you to consider whether any of these that follow resonate with you. Number one, this is too radical. I want to stay within safe, familiar ground. Here I ask, radical to who? We can't be presumptuous and speak for anyone else. That's why this is subrational. Number two, this overturns beliefs I've held my whole life. I can't accept that I've been wrong for so long. Often these beliefs were planted deep in the heart and mind by parents, grandparents, youth leaders, Sunday school teachers, peers, celebrity voices. Number three, I'll look foolish for having promoted futurism to friends, in writing, or through life choices. Now, this fear has its basis in pride, which ultimately has to be addressed because it may manifest in other areas of Christian life. Number four, I risk being shunned by futurist friends or churches if I adopt this view. Now, this is unfortunately true. Most preterists whose testimony I've heard share this rejection. I can attest to it. Embracing this would force me to re-examine other beliefs, and that's uncomfortable. The individual who attests to this is being honest, but is also suggesting that they have no real desire to search for the truth. Now, the sum of all these objections is, I'm afraid to explore where this leads. Now, underlying these reactions is a tendency to prize comfort or reputation over truth. Christians should always value truth above personal cost. And I don't intend to dismiss the real pain tied to these fears. Ostracism does happen. A number of preterists I know have experienced varying degrees of rejection, and I expect to face some myself. Yet when compared with the persecutions believers had endured over the centuries for faithful conviction, a few raised eyebrows or strained relationships shouldn't be what keeps us from pursuing the truth. Note that the objections above I just mentioned, are rooted in a logical error called the appeal to consequence, which is outlined by if A is true, B follows. But I don't like B, therefore A must be false. It's legitimate to test a belief against other truths, but rejecting a claim solely because you dislike it or dislike its implications is poor reasoning and treacherously illogical. When evaluating any system of belief, the test is internal consistency and correspondence to evidence, not whether it aligns with every current assumption that you hold. Often what feels like a contradiction is actually a mistaken presupposition that the new view corrects. Imagine telling someone in the 1500s about telephones. They might dismiss the notion as sorcery because it violated their understanding of physics. Once their assumptions changed, however, the idea would make sense. Discarding a view because it conflicts with present beliefs begs the question, are those present beliefs all correct? Now, that's basic logic 101, yet these sub-rational responses protecting cherished beliefs, avoiding the discomfort of re-examination, fearing social costs, are probably the main reasons many reject preterism. People sometimes cover their ears or latch onto peripheral objections and use them to dismiss preterism without honestly engaging its answers. For many, rational counterarguments won't suffice because the deeper, unstated resistance remains. Sadly, this describes a lot of futurists, not people who have studied Scripture afresh, but people who have learned Scripture through the filter of futurism, treating the Bible as if it were written in a time vacuum and as if Christ's first century coming somehow skipped over the original audience only to speak to readers centuries later. Finally, consider this. Weren't there brilliant people who once insisted the world was flat? Until recent centuries, atoms were thought indivisible. Then experiments split them open and revealed far more complexity. Now, are we so arrogant that we can't admit the possibility that we're wrong about this? Now, I will continue to address the logical objections to preterism as I've done in previous videos on the channel. Now, here's a few examples. 1, we are living today in the end times. You can see the signs all around us. Now, that idea is based on newspaper eschatology. How about letting the Bible define the last days? There are 19 mentions of the last days, end times in the New Testament. Without exception, the writers of the New Testament proclaimed that they were living in the last days. Number 2, in Matthew 24:34, Jesus meant that generation rather than this generation, as the text reads virtually in all English translations. And this changes the timing of Jesus' return to a still future time. Number 3, we cannot know when Jesus will return to earth because he said no one knows the day or the hour. Yes, preterists will provide a simple logic answer to this. Please stay tuned. Number 4, in Matthew 24:3, the disciples asked Jesus 2 different questions about the A, destruction of the temple, and B, the end of the age. So they must have different times fulfillment. Again, stay tuned. And number 5, if Jesus has already come, people would have seen him. Now, we can answer that as well. Now, I pray this message reaches the ears of thousands of futurists, including partial preterists. But let me leave you with the words of Jesus to the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4, when the woman asked Jesus where the appropriate location to worship the Father was, whether it was the mountain in Samaria where they were conversing, or whether it was to be in Jerusalem. And Jesus replied, and this is John 4:21-24. Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour is coming and is now when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father is seeking such to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." Augustus out. Okay.